Hey, hey. And it wouldn't let me go. Hey, and it wouldn't let me. I gotta make sure I rock this shirt today, y'all. And it wouldn't let me go. Hey. All right, y'all. Me meant for evil, God has worked it out for my good. Hey. Okay. Hey, y'all. We about to get into this one. This is, oh my gosh, this is episode 8. Episode 8. Come on now. God has worked it out for my, hey. Yes. Okay. Hey. And I thought that it should. Hey. All right. Alexa, volume 2. All right. So let us go into, we're about to get into this podcast. Greetings to everybody. Greetings to you and you. My name is Sister Femi of Chronicles of a Broken Church Girl. I want to say thank you for joining me for episode 8. I'm going to start this off the way that it just dropped in my spirit. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your presence. We thank you for the use of technology. And we thank you for this podcast and this space and your grace. So God, as I go forward, please, Lord, let you be here in every household that taps in on this podcast. I just bless your holy and righteous name. Ashe, amen, amen. Greetings to you all. Thank you for joining me today. Listen, I'm fired up about this particular podcast, this particular show, because here we're going to be diving into a topic that challenges us in our faith and in our growth and how we call ourselves looking at others. One of the first lessons that I grew up on, my mom always told me, don't judge a book by its cover. That was like one of the very first lessons she ever taught me. Do not judge a book by its cover because you just never know what's inside that book. You understand me? And for those of y'all who remember the days of book covers from back in the days when we had book covers, you could never tell what was inside the book if it was covered, right? So, one, I want to say thank y'all for tuning in with me. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please like, share, and subscribe. So now back to the topic, that moment. Judging a book by its cover, I mean, people don't really understand how that hurts. Not only just yourself, but it might even hurt the person that you're judging or the book that you're judging, right? So today we're going to be talking about how people become spiritually disconnected by man's rejection. Okay, and a lot of time man's rejection is off of not what they know, but what they perceive of people. Okay, so I want to tap into that today because this is something that I dealt with. I struggled with for many years, being an only child for 22 years, if you will, by my mom only. I got other siblings or whatever the case may be, but you know, a lot of times people don't realize how painful it is when people can look at you and not even get to know who you are, but they already pass a condemning judgment on you. So we're going to talk about that today. That is what today's episode is going to be about. How that causes spiritual disconnection, how that causes people to kind of wonder and question themselves like, well, hey, you know, doesn't God say he made me in his image and I was created and I'm behind the creator and I was made beautiful and all these different things. But when you're so used to being rejected by people who only want to, how can I say, judge you by the outer shell of who you are, either the outer shell of who you are or who you used to be, because, oh my God, I can tell you, for years, I struggled with coming out of my bad girl days when I was a teenager, when I was a young child, and the disappointing decisions that I made. And then people trying to hold me to those things once I became a 20 and 30-year-old, like, I'm not that same person. I need you to let that girl go because I don't even remember her. I only remember her by testimony. I don't remember her by faith. Okay? So we're going to talk about that. That's what we're going to get into right now. That is what we're going to talk about. So disconnection, spiritual disconnection caused by judgment of our appearance and background often stems from how we might be misaligned with God, as well as we our weight of how people perceive us, what we truly care. How people perceive us. A lot of times we all say, oh, we don't care what this one says about us, and we don't care what that one says about us. But the truth to the matter is, when you're trying to come off and you're trying to relate to people where, you're either trying to build a relationship or build a foundation of trust, it's really hard to say you don't care what someone says. You have a small ounce of you cares, because that's going to dictate how you go further and how you go forth in your relationship with this person, right? So it's like, even then, there's some people who might feel spiritual disconnected because they don't know how God might even perceive them. They don't know if their walk is considered genuine to him. You know what I'm saying? Is my prayer really reaching to the master? Is my prayer really going out there? Am I really manifesting to the creator what I want? Is my heart really showing what I want? You know what I mean? And so for me, I know growing up as an artist, I never dressed. I never dressed the status quo. I never dressed like the high schoolers. I never dressed like how everybody thought I should be dressing. I always dressed different. So first of all, first disclaimer is I spent a lot of years in Chicago, Illinois. And in Chicago, during the time, that was during the 80s that I was there. And during that season, there was a lot of gang-related neighborhoods, like it is now probably. But in those gang-related neighborhoods, you couldn't wear certain colors. It's like you crossed one side of the street and had to wear this yellow and black. You crossed the other side, you had to wear blue and black. You crossed another side, you had to wear red and black. So for me, because I was an only child, and because it seemed like my mom, you would have thought she was a military mom, but because of the way that we traveled and the way that we did, I found myself always wearing black. That was kind of one of the reasons why I wore black today. Um, I always found myself wearing black, one, so I could hide, because black is a hiding color, okay? Two, because I wanted to be safe. I didn't want to get jumped. I didn't want to get jumped after school, before school, going to school, coming home from school, by the gangs, because I had on a wrong color. And then three, because I did not feel like a girl my skin color should be wearing colors. I always felt like by wearing colors, I would look sports. You understand what I'm saying to you? I wouldn't look like what I wouldn't look acceptable by people. You know what I'm saying? So it was really pretty hard because I wore black most of the time, because again, orange, oh, you would never see me wear orange. You would never see me wear yellow, because I always thought, and this was my own perspective, and I think it was also the judgmentality of the society at the time, is that black girls just wasn't supposed to wear all those colors. That wasn't the end thing for black girls to be wearing colors. So I wasn't secure in who I was created to be. So by me not being secure in who I was created to be, of course, there was a little disconnect with me and God, because I didn't think, those colors wasn't made for my skin tone. This was what I was made to wear. I was made to wear black. That's what I thought. That is not what anyone directly told me. Yet socially, that's what I thought. That was my perception. If I wore a loud color, they would talk bad about me. They would criticize me. They would judge me, right? And this is just, again, we're talking about the outer appearance, judging a book by its cover, okay? So I'm going to go through a few of the things that causes people to feel a disconnection spiritually by that kind of lifestyle, by having to live within that type of shell, having to live within that kind of, I guess, paradigm of the mind, if you will, okay? There could be some internalized shame. Like I said, for me, I was a black girl, and no, I wasn't always pro-black. I grew up in a pro-black situation, but I didn't always perceive myself that way. Did I feel like I wanted to be another race. No, I didn't want to be another race. I just didn't understand how important I was to myself as well as to the community. So when I did there was a season where I was being brought up by a family, and I used to get the hand-me-downs. A lot of people know about the hand-me-downs, right? And we used to go thrift store shopping. So in one sense, I kind of dressed like a little old lady to some degree because of the type of clothing that was always chosen for me to have to wear. So that was a little shameful at school. That was a little shameful going through high school and elementary. And so that was a level of judgment I had to deal with, right? And I felt like I was unworthy of being seen as, not so much that I had to be in the in crowd, but just being someone who was an actual person. You know what I mean? Because people can judge you by what you have on, and they totally do not even understand what's inside of here, what's inside of here, and what's inside of here. Okay? What wants to be birthed, what's sitting here brewing, and what your thoughts entail. And it made it hard. It made it real hard for me, and it made it so hard that I was quiet. And I say this around people, and people laugh at me. They're like, what? You quiet? Yeah, I was quiet because of the judgment that was around me. I was quiet because of the perceived notion that people were going to judge me. One, like I said, they talked about my clothing. They talked about how I looked. They talked about my appearance. My nose was a constant state of judgment. They talked about my eyes. They talked about how small my head was. Listen, if they could pick, and we're not even going to talk about my name. We're not even going to talk about my name. Now, African names and understanding the diaspora is the in thing. But back then, it was not the in thing. I was somebody who was judged, period. You know what I mean? From my name to my nose to my clothes. All right. And I realized that my quietness had a lot to do with not wanting to be rejected by once I used my voice. Okay. So that's the internalized shame that I had. I knew my clothes were used. I knew they were from a thrift store. I knew they were hand-me-downs. I knew they weren't the things that I would have chosen them to be. So that was an internal shame, right? And then there was the comparison trap, right? The comparison trap is when you compare yourself to somebody else. You compare yourself to this person over here who seems to be the life of the party. Or you compare yourself to a kid over there who seems to have all the brand new name brand stuff and, all those different things going on. And that's from a younger perspective to an older perspective. Me as a woman now, there were different levels of my Christian walk, of my faith walk, where it's not so much that I felt like I needed to compare myself with somebody, but I had to stop myself from comparing myself to somebody. Okay, I had to stop myself because sometimes we don't even realize we're comparing ourselves until we find ourselves in a space of anxiety, uncomfortability, or even judgment of that other person. You're sitting there going like, why am I judging this person like that? Because they have something about them that you actually want, didn't realize that you wanted it. And so instead of you facing your own shortcomings or your own thoughts of what you think you should be, you begin to now look at somebody else and go, oh, they just being all up in somebody's face. Oh, this and that and that and that. I mean, I can name it out, but I'm not gonna because that'll eat up a whole lot of time, right? So that's the comparison trap. Then we have rejecting our identity. If we reject parts of ourselves, be it our cultural background, our physical features, or our life experiences, we may also reject the sacredness of how we were uniquely created. This rejection can prevent us, right? It can prevent us from fully understanding and embracing the divine that's within us, right? So I talked about how my skin color and colors, I just wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't do it because in my mind, I wouldn't look good. Thank you for being here. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. I appreciate y'all sharing this space with me. Please do that. Please do that. Please subscribe. Please share. Please like. And so that's something that you don't realize that the divine is in you. You are amazing. You're an amazing individual because somewhere you've rejected who you are and who you are built to be. And that is not what we're called to do. We're called to accept the magnificence of who we truly are, right? And then there's the judgment towards others, right? If we judge others based off of their appearance, or based off of what we think they should be like, or based off of how we think they should act, right? It not only damages our relationship with that person, but it damages and disrupts our spiritual growth. So you have to, Alexa Volume 1, so you have to find yourself in a space where you are not judgmental of other people. You are not in a place to judge somebody. Where do you come off judging someone? Where do you come off passing judgment and judging a book by its cover? That shows the faultiness within you that you should not even want. You have to accept everyone for who they are and where they are and give them a space of grace so that they can become whoever they're supposed to become while you're becoming who you're supposed to be. Put your eye on you. Get in the mirror and look at you before you get to looking at somebody else, right? So that is one of the things that I know that a lot of us have a very hard time doing because, well, this world is just so judgmental, right? This world is very judgmental on how we do things, how we speak, how we talk, how we behave. And God forbid, oh my God, we're not even going to talk about the church. I'm not even going to bring the church into this right here, right now, because I would, and I will, but not right this second, because the level of judgment that takes place in the church is beyond understanding. Okay. All right. So false narratives. What we know as false narratives is what society says we should or should not be. That could leave us in a place of finding ourselves spiritually disconnected. Okay? We could find ourselves in a space of being spiritually disconnected by that only because, again, we're gauging our magnificence off of what man says, off of what a woman says, off of what a child might even say. And that's not what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be gauging our magnificence off of our Creator who dwells within us while we're dwelling within them. Okay? While we're dwelling within them, the ideal appearance, the ideal background. Like, for example, I know a lot of people, let's take social media, for example. Come the end of school year, oh my God, you see this one who's graduated, you see that child who's graduated, you see this person's child who's doing this, you see this person getting a degree over here, you see that person over there getting a degree, you see that person over there getting scholarships. Listen, left, right, and center, you see all these things going on, and then you stop and you look at yourself and you go, well, I don't have all of that. My kids aren't going for all of that. That's a false narrative. It's a false narrative because, first of all, let me keep it 1,000. Half of the stuff you see on social media ain't as real as you think it is. Okay? Let's keep that into perspective. Half of the things you see on social media ain't as peachy keen as you really think it is. Yet in the essence of not judging yourself by what you see, no one knows your struggle. No one knows your journey. No one knows what your children have gone through. No one knows what you have gone through. All I can say is to be grateful that they're alive, be grateful that they're in their right mind, whether they're doing what you want them to do or not. You still got to be grateful for where they are. You have to be grateful for who you are as a parent and were as a parent. You got to be grateful for where you are if you're a single individual, because I hear about relationship goals and seeing other people, black love this, black love that, relationship. Oh, that's inspired to want to have that kind of relationship. Like I tell people all the time, you don't know what people go through to have a smile on social media. You don't know what people go through to have a smile on a daily basis. A lot of people go through a lot of things that you may not want to have to take that trip in order to get them smiles and get that companionship that they're going through. You just don't want to. It looks very nice and bubbly because you've created something in your mind. We've let TV tell us something that is not always true. We let these movies, we let these fairy tales feed into our perspectives, when in actuality, you really have to just stop and appreciate who you are and whose you are. Okay? So that's on the false narratives of what society says you should or could or should not be looking like or should be acting like or should be like or whatever the case may be. That is not the case. And you've got to stop putting that kind of weight on yourself. You've got to give yourself some more grace. You've got to give yourself some more love. Lower that mental expectation of what you should be, because guess what? Just thank God of where you are. Thank God of where you are, because it's not for anybody else to live your life but you. It's not for anyone else to live your life but you. So don't be so hard on yourself. Don't be gauging yourself up against somebody else's quote unquote look like. You doing it like it's a mirror for you to say I shoulda, coulda, and woulda, and you shouldn't do that to yourself. You put more weight on that. You put more weight on the falsehood than you do the realities that you have a genuine relationship with your Creator. You know how many people don't even know who God is? You know how many people want to sit there and say they don't believe in who God is? I'm not here to judge them. I'm just here to say that's your life to live. I know that ain't mine, and I'm not trying to live that life. I'm not trying to live that life because I don't know what they're going through. But I know how blessed my life is, knowing that I have a true relationship with my divine. I know that for myself, and you have to know these things for yourself, because what you know for yourself is the most truest and genuine portions to your livelihood and to your life than trying to go off gauging what somebody else appears to have going on, to what somebody else is showing the world what they have going on that may not altogether be the truth. Okay? So, our worth is inherent in our divine relationship with our Creator, not with what man says, not with what man tries to gauge. That was one of the hardest things for me, if I could be as transparent as I can right now. In my previous business with fashion, it is such a vain industry. And it was so hard for me because within the vanity of it, you have the trying to keep up with the status pro and the style pro and the artistic perspective. And then you have the thievery of the creative zone, where, the thievery of the creativeness, where you create something and then you got somebody else that'll come right behind you and act like they created it or act like they can. And all I can say is everything is inspired off of the first pair of pants, the first shirt, and the first dress ever made. But it was a very hard industry to stay in and keep my artistic flow and keep my artistic vitality alive and not plugged into what was going on around me, because of so much of the mishmash within the fashion industry. It is a vain industry. There's a bunch of snakes in the grass and a bunch of liars waiting to stab you in the back. And I just had to say, I honestly had to step back and say it was a lot. It was more than I felt like even. I could not get my footing in not being a part of that wave. I kept trying to not be a part of that wave, but it was so hard because if you're out there relating to people, if you're out there doing these fashion shows and doing all these different variations of what fashion has to offer, it really makes it really hard for you not to get caught up in the ebb and the flow of the madness. And that was hard for me. That was hard for me. A lot of people, I still focus in on my creative community because I'm not going to leave. I'm a creative. I'm an artist. I'm an artist by DNA. I'm an artist by creation. I'm just an artist. So I accept that about myself. It was just really hard sticking with the industry because, again, it was so cutthroat. It was so backstabbish. It was so ew. And I commend those who can stay in it. I commend those who can grow their brands in it, because it can be a little hard. it can be a little hard sometimes, it can work against your creativity. It can be a little overwhelming, you know what I mean? And that's mine, that's my testimony. That's my story you have to live with and deal with. And I'm good with it. You know what I mean? I'm not doing all the things that I would have loved to do in it. Yet again, I couldn't find my grounding. I could not get my grounding in it. I tried to keep my eye off of everything else. But if you still have to intertwine with people, you still have to commingle in an industry, it makes it very hard. Okay? It made it very, very hard. Yet I knew that my creator created me to do all above and beyond anything and everything that he's laid in my heart to do. And one of the main things that I really wanted to do, I wanted to do media work. And this is how my podcast came about, because I took a minute to step back and realize while I was healing through my traumatic situations and experiences that this is something as a little girl I always wanted to do, but forgot about it. Right? So in that, I was able to find my identity. Right? I was be able to tap back into who I am, tap back into who I was made to be, tap back into the desires that I had as a child, because I never wanted to be directly in the fashion industry like that. I wanted to be part of the media. Right? So I have a few tips that I'm going to share before I go into tea time as to how to overcome. If you're somebody who could relate to anything that I've shared in terms of the levels of disconnection that you have felt over your lifetime, as you felt, as you're going to and fro, as you felt in this faith walk, I have a few tips on how you can find that space of reconnection with the Creator, okay? One of the things is practice self-compassion, giving yourself grace, like I said. Acknowledge your value beyond the judgment. Acknowledge the victories that you've had in your life, beyond the trauma, beyond the tragedies, beyond the disappointments, beyond the letdowns, beyond the comparisons to other people. Look at who you are in a mirror and really appreciate who you are as a person, and knowing that nobody is made like you. You are fabulous. I'm telling you these things. You are fabulous, and you got to give your credit for being just that fabulous, because you are. You're fabulous. Okay, so you have to take those times on a daily basis, look in that mirror and say, you know what, you fabulous, boo. Love on yourself. Talk to yourself on a regular basis. Pour positivity into yourself, because only you're going to be able to do it to carry you where you need to go. Right? Then embrace your differences. When I tell you I was joked about my nose, I was joked about my eyes, I was joked about my height, I was joked about my head size, I've been joked about. I don't think there's anything on my personal structure I have not been judged about, joked about, talked about, all of those different things. But then at the beginning and the end of the day, I love who God has created me to be. All of my flaws, my mole. Oh my God, we're not even gonna talk. You see this mole on my face? Oh, sweet baby Jesus, I didn't even talk about the mole and how the kids used to see. I was born with this mole on my face, and it grew as I got older. So as a teenager, could you imagine? Y'all know what it was like to judge older people when they had moles on their face? Baby, when I tell you them kids was mean, kids are some mean creatures. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. They're some mean little creatures, okay? But all jokes aside, it's really about you embracing your difference. Embracing your difference, For me, my mom taught me that looks wasn't everything, and don't judge a book by its cover, and look to the heart of people, and don't be so quick to see the flaws in people, but try to embrace and bless the beauty of a person, because quiet as it's kept, if y'all really think about it, if you're here today, you're a blessed individual. If you were conceived, you're a blessing to be here. How many people didn't get conceived? Okay? How many people did not get conceived? How many eggs and sperm kept on going? If you were conceived, you are a blessing and you are a divine creation. One that none like you, boo. None like you. Okay? Second, seek divine perspective. If you can't find it within yourself to appreciate who you are, one, go to God in prayer. Go to God in prayer and ask that you open your eyes, open your understanding to how beautiful you genuinely are. Go to the word of God because his word don't lie, never come back void, says that you are wonderfully created. If you stop judging, engaging yourself off of somebody else, you can see your beauty in yourself, right? Then the last one that I have, the last tip that I have for this particular show is release the judgment of yourself. Whatever mistakes you have made, they were yours to make. Learn from them. Try not to make them again and keep going forward. You can't get stuck on feeling like a mistake you made yesterday is going to dictate your tomorrow. Not always. It might have just been a lesson in there for you to learn. Like this year for me, my theme, I make a theme for every year, and it started from last year. My theme this year is paying attention to all the flags. Because not all flags are red flags, right? But paying attention to all the flags, whether they red flags, green flags, blue flags, yellow flags, white flags. Paying attention to all the flags, because for me, I understand when I'm given a flag, that is a divine instruction that I've received from my God, my creator, letting me know to, pay attention, be aware, be intentional, right? So you have to release the criticism of other people on you. A lot of times people will criticize you for the lack that they have, not for the lack that you have, right? You have to stop criticizing yourself and give yourself more grace and love because you're worthy of it. You deserve that, okay? You deserve those different things. You really need to get yourself to a place of understanding and accepting who you are, accepting how you were created, accepting how you were made. Okay? Yeah, your choices and decisions weren't perfect. Nobody gave us a book per se outside of the Bible, basic instructions before leaving Earth, right? Nobody gave us a true understanding as to how to live our lives on a daily basis. They gave us some tips here and there, like I'm giving you tips here and there, but no one has given you the design layout. This is what you got to do. That's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. In some aspects, yes, but in most aspects, no. Because once you've lived long enough and you've made enough mistakes, you understand that some mistakes that you made, you caused some obstacles that didn't necessarily have to be there. But now you have to live through those obstacles, and you have to climb around those obstacles, and you have to grow past those obstacles. So again, even twins don't have the same life or lifestyle. Even twins don't, right? All right, so that is something that I wanted to talk about today. Being spiritually disconnected, feeling spiritually disconnected because of man's rejection. Because man rejected, because man separated, because man put this false narrative out there for you to have to deal with, whether it was you in your own head or somebody else, that you need to get past that and know that you are wonderfully, absolutely, amazingly made. For every woman, you are a queen. For every man, you are a king. You need to step into who you are supposed to be. Don't step into it with pride. Step into it with humility so your true power can shine. So your true power can shine. So I'm going to share. So that is the conclusion of that portion. But I'm going to get into our tea time. So I don't know if this is your first time tuning into my podcast. But what I like to do is I'm into herbal teas and I'm into African natural lifestyle. So what I like to share is I like to share an herbal tea combination that you can go forward with and go forward in and put together and drink and things of that sort so that you can sit and marinate and journal and meditate on how to be a better person for yourself, not by anybody else's judgment zone or any other thing like that, okay? But how God has designed you to be, right? So I'm going to give you this particular recipe and then I'm going to put it up here. I didn't put last week's I gotta stop doing that. I gotta get a little bit more disciplined over here on YouTube here, okay? So this particular tea is the Vitality Defense Tea. Okay, I call it the Vitality Defense Tea, and it has oolong, which is rich in antioxidants and rich and gentle energy and immunity. It has sarsaparilla powder. This is an anti-inflammatory and it supports your immune system. Then we have juniper berry, which also is it has a lot of antibacterial properties. Then we have ashwagandha, good old ashwagandha, which reduces stress, which can impact your immunity. So again, sometimes we don't realize that our anxiety levels of judgment can mess with our immunity. So this is why I like this particular combination of herbs, because I know that as you drink it, the ashwagandha has a calming effect on you. It's not going to put you to sleep unless you just need to go to sleep, but it has a calming effect on you, as well as juniper berry and oolong. Oolong is one of my favorite teas. Yet all you have to do in order to make this one is you boil your water first in about 16, I want to say 12 to 16 ounces of water. Boil your water first in a ceramic cup or in a ceramic pot or whatever the case may be. Boil your water first and then steep your tea inside of the water for at least a good 10 to 15 minutes. You may have to reheat your water, but that's okay. Okay, just don't do it with your herbs in there. Okay, heat your water first, then put the herbs in there so that you can steep your tea, and then sit back and enjoy yourself. You can sweeten it with monk fruit. Monk fruit or stevia are two things that won't mess with your glycemic level, or you can add a little honey. I never promote white sugars. I only promote the other sweeteners, okay? But honey messes with your glycemic level, whereas stevia and monk fruit will not. So you just add a little bit to your tea. And as you're drinking your tea, appreciate who you are. Appreciate the life that you are right now living. Appreciate the life that you've been blessed with, whether it's not as up to par as you like it, but you are still here to yet have another day. Okay? Do that for yourself. And as far as a journal prompt is concerned, I would like it to say, write yourself a letter as to why you love you the way that you should do. Again, write yourself a letter on the way that you should and the way that you do. Okay? Because I just realized I said that and it could be a little confusing. So write that letter. Write yourself a letter to yourself, who you are today, as to why you love you and why you should love you some more. So just write yourself a love letter. How about that? Okay? Write yourself a love letter. Bottom line. Write yourself that letter. Hold on to that letter. Read that letter when you need to remind yourself of how magnificent you truly, truly are. All right? So I want to say thank you for joining me. I am Sister Femi of Chronicles of a Broken Church Girl. I did say I was going to talk about the church judging you. I probably may leave that till next week. Or I might do some snippets on that. Okay? So check out some shorts. Come back and check out the shorts. But I want to say thank you for liking, staying, hanging around, liking, sharing, and subscribing to my channel. I'm constantly trying to grow. I'm about to have my first, matter of fact, next week is my first interviewee. I'm going to have a guest on next week, and oh my gosh, I can't wait. I'm excited. So I'm looking forward to you all being able to tune in then. Again, thank you for joining me, Sister Femi of Chronicles of a Broken Church Girl. You all continue to have a blessed week, and I'll see you next week.